Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have about 3 articles here that will help me discuss an issue between Ukraine and Hungary. And Mr. Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, made some statements that Ukraine found a little bit insulting, and they hit back at Prime Minister Orban, pointing out that, we receive money from the European Union, but you also receive money from the European Union. Mr. Orban claims that Ukraine is a non-existent country economically, and that without the US and European Union's support, the war in Ukraine would be over in a second, or something like that. So let's start with these 3 articles. So let's start with the first one, where Orban claims that conflict in Ukraine to end once the United States and Europe stop backing Kiev. This comes from, all the article come from not respected news media outlets, which are Sputnik and Russia Today. Alright, so let's see what Orban has to say here. He says that Ukraine is a non-existent country in financial terms, and as soon as the US and Europe stop supporting it, the conflict will end, Hungarian Prime Minister said on Friday. And I'm quoting, "In fact, Ukraine is a non-existent country in financial terms. The fall in economic indicators is huge, which is completely understandable. Obviously, Ukraine cannot finance itself. The question is whether we support Ukraine," end quote, Orban told the Hungarian broadcaster. He added, and I'm quoting Mr. Orban, "The moment America and Europe answer no to this question, the conflict will end. Europe spends tens of billions of dollars to support Ukraine. This cannot continue indefinitely," the Hungarian leader stressed. This little situation between Hungary and the new situation that was created between Hungary and Ukraine is due to the fact that Hungary opposes more aid from the European Union given to Ukraine. Just, you know what I mean? So this is the only country in the European Union who has something to say, saying, wait a second, maybe we should not do this. Oh my God, you are Putin's blah, blah, blah. Orban doesn't give up, obviously. So that was the first article. The second article has this little title, which is directly, a direct, I don't know how to call it. I would say it's a reality, but hey, what do I know, right? Why do I say it's reality? Because Ukraine is having a fantastic deficit, and that's due to many reasons. One of them obviously is what's going on in East Ukraine. So Russia Today, 14th of April 2023. Ukraine and I'm quoting, non-existent country financially. The conflict will end as soon as West stops giving money to Kiev, the Hungarian Prime Minister said. So this is what he said on the other one. But it says here, according to Orban, I'm picking up from the other article, the question is whether the West wants to continue sustaining Ukraine. The moment when America and Europe answer no to the question, the war will end. Budapest is also involved in financing the Kiev government through joint EU mechanisms. But despite this, the situation keeps deteriorating for the Hungarian minority in Ukraine's Transcarpathia region, the Prime Minister said. Orban has previously complained about Ukraine's mistreating ethnic Hungarians in the country's western region, including the Romanians. They also complained. That's a new thing. In his speech in February, the Prime Minister claimed that Hungarian symbols are being brought down in settlements across Transcarpathia. Heads of Hungarian leagues, schools are being removed, while many ethnic Hungarians are dying on frontline, end quote. The EU, its member states and financial institutions have provided more than $55.3 billion or 50 billion euros in financial support to Kiev since the outbreak of fighting between Russia and Ukraine more than a year ago, including 12 billion euros in arms and 30 billion euros in macro financial aid. You know what it is? All right, so that's how much the European Union had the money to give them. I wonder how much money they gave to the teachers or to the, I don't know, medical personnel in Europe, if they had this money for them or not. Obviously not. And the third one is Ukraine calls out Orban over money. So Ukraine will try, obviously, to switch the whole thing, saying, well, we actually, the money comes, but we are defending Europe for you guys, so you owe us, or something like this. And the fact that Hungary as well received some money from the European Union, obviously, being incorporated in this Brussels thing, experiment. Kiev insisted that EU donations are not charity, but a security investment. That's what they say. It is cynical of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban to criticize EU funding for Ukraine when Budapest takes money from Brussels as well, the foreign ministry in Kiev claimed on Friday. Spokesman Oleg Nikolenko also insisted that Ukraine was defending Hungary and the rest of the bloc from Russia. It doesn't really work like that. You know, I get in a scuffle with a neighbor and then I ask the whole neighborhood to pay me because somehow I defend the whole neighborhood from being attacked by this neighbor that I personally have a problem with, backed or pushed by two or three other neighbors. I mean, really? I don't think so. Why don't you let me determine if you really provide me security or not? That thing is, you know, give me this and I wash your sins or something. Ew. The same here is kind of like I assign myself a position of like your defender. You know, I think you are, this used to happen in the communist times in Romania. For your own security, the government would come into your house to, you know, provide security and safety for your family. But I don't need it. It's okay, but we know better. We're going to come and help you. But in the meantime, you got to pay us taxes. So kind of like right now, Ukraine put this badge of we are the defenders of Europe. And some countries might say, no, we don't see it that way. Well, we don't see it that way because you're stupid. We know better. Give us money. This is the great paradigm created around Ukraine, that if Ukraine falls, again, the domino BS from, if you remember, Indochina. Oh, if Vietnam falls, all East Asia will turn communist. They ignore the fact that China turned communist. 1 billion people, or how many were at that point, 900 million or whatever. If Vietnam falls, we have to stop it right there. Everything was going to turn into communist. Same here. Well, with scenarios, I can have a lot of scenarios again. So this is the, I don't know how to call it, cheap blackmail that occurs right now. We are the defenders of Europe. No, you're not. No, you're not. Some people might see it differently. And it's not how you see it, it's how I see it, because I'm at the receiving end, not you. I will be at the receiving end. If I consider I'm threatened by those guys over there, yes, I will give you the money, or I will support you. But if I don't see it, you want to make me do that? Yes. Okay. So let's go here back to this article. This is the thing with non-existent country, when he said that financially, in financial terms, there's not. And he said another anti-Ukrainian statement, and quote, Nikolenko wrote on Facebook, "It is cynical of the Hungarian leadership to speak on another country's financial issues while Hungary itself receives a lot of money from the EU to support its economic stability." Yes, but Nikolenko, you know, Hungary is part of the European Union. You are not. You have a problem with your neighbor, not European Union has a problem with your neighbor. And you have a problem with your neighbor because you have a friend that kind of help you have a little problem with your neighbor since 2014. So we're not together in this. Oh, yes, we are. No, we're not. Anyway, by giving money to Ukraine, Nikolenko insisted that EU invests, I'm quoting, first and foremost in its own security. No, I don't see it that way. How about that? I don't think Orban sees that way. And many others, I'm suspecting, don't see it that way. But they get along because they are cowards. That's how I think. Maybe, you know, it's more than that, obviously, but I make it very simple so we don't go into sophisticated argumentation for about 3 hours. I can do that too, but at some other time. Orban he argued instead that Orban should be grateful to Ukraine for peaceful sky over Budapest and other European cities, because according to Nikolenko's scenario, if the Ukrainians are mowed down, the next one is going to be Budapest. Okay, well, again, I'm working with probabilities and possibilities. Possibilities, 100%, it's possible. Probable, I would give it, I don't know, 1%. I don't want to give it 0, but 1%. Or why would I give it 99%? I mean, what is the connection between these two? Why would the Russians do that? And I tell you why. The argument is because the Russians are bad, they are imperialistic, and they're just thugs. And once you accept that, anything that it can be sold to you. But should you accept that? I mean, if you read the news in the free world and you find out that the Russians just invaded, had a hard-on in the morning and say, we're going to invade unprovoked just because, and if you accept that, then yes, everything goes just flowing like that. But it is ignoring a lot of historical events that occurred before 24th of February 2022, before that. But once you ignore it and you pick only what you like to make your case, then I can do the same thing. Where are we going to end up? We're never going to see eye to eye. We're never going to even negotiate or talk about it. If you want to see it only one way and I want to see only the other way, how are we going to talk? We're not going to talk. So this is going to talk this. Bang. That's all. And unfortunately, the third party benefits. So let's see how much money these guys receive. By the most recent estimates, the bloc has provided, as I said, 50 billion euros since the conflict escalated in February 2022, including 12 billion euros, weapons, and other 30 billion in financial aid. This does not include the $113 billion the US Congress has appropriated to prop up Ukraine, of which only 20% has been cash assistance. And I'm quoting, obviously Ukraine can't finance itself, Orban said, adding that external support can't continue indefinitely. And quote, the conflict will end the moment US and EU stop funding Kiev, he argued. While Hungary does get billions of euros in subsidies from Brussels, and Brussels has money from where? Again, it's like a rich parent. Do you think Brussels is just a rich parent, just came into being? Where do you think the money comes from Brussels and goes to all these countries, not only Hungary? From its own pockets, it just has money from what? What is Brussels doing? Managing whose money? What banks? The EU is currently withholding a combined 34 billion euros, including in COVID-19 pandemic recovery funds, demanding that Budapest changes the policies the EU disapproves of, most notably on the issues of immigration and, they say, LGBT rights. So the European Union, they want you to do this, do that, we're not going to give you money. But remember, Hungary is part of the European Union. Ukraine is not. So, but once you get in a little group, little organization, little, club, you're going to give up some of your freedom, some of your liberties. That's what happens, including when you get in a marriage. You give some of your freedoms and she gives some of her freedoms or liberties, however you want to call it, because now you have to be, you have another agent that you have to communicate and agree upon your decisions, because otherwise you're not married anymore. And unfortunately, a lot of marriages nowadays are like that. I do whatever I want, I have my money, you have your money, and we just share an apartment or a house, and we just economically not help one another. How do you call it? Not even support one another. We just take advantage of one another's finances, and sometimes and that's it. And the rest, I do whatever I want. Well, that's not a marriage. That's, I don't know what it is. Like, I can do that with a friend, minus the but, and that's what. It's a business transaction, and it's unfortunate. So it's a reality that Ukraine is supported by the West. If the West, obviously, there were sponsors from a long time, let's put it this way, a long time being after 2014. I mean, if the West decides to help and support and so on, yes. But if you have the goal right there, but you say, no, my goal is right here, but everyone can see, well, the goal is right there. You can fool people, sometime, but you can't fool all the people all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.